This tutorial will cover how to open your STL, how to adjust these settings, and send it to the SD card for the 3D printer. We're going to go ahead and open Slicer Prusa Edition. You should have already downloaded and installed this to your computer. You should have the options over here on the right hand side for printer for the i3 Mark III as well as the i3 Mark IIs. When you change and select these, the bed will change to read either Mark II, or for this tutorial I'm going to go ahead and use the Mark III. What we need to do first is change the print settings. There are some unique settings for printing lithophanes that we need to change. First thing we'll do is come up here to Print Settings. We're going to click on Layers and Perimeters. And we're going to change the perimeters. Instead of 2, we're going to bump that all the way up to 5. So 5 perimeters should be enough. Everything else will leave the same. Next thing we'll click on is the infill. We want the fill pattern to be rectilinear. And we're going to change the fill density to 100%. And once we have these two things adjusted, I'm going to click on the Save Current Print Settings. These settings are unique for lithophanes, so we're going to make sure that we can access these. You're going to have to print 4 different lithophanes, and it's nice to have those settings saved. So click the disk icon. I'm going to edit this to say lithophane and mark OK. If you notice, it says 0.15 millimeter quality. If I go back here, if that was not already selected, if you were at a different system preset, make sure that you're at 0.15 millimeter quality, and then go ahead and do the print settings. So I can come over here and make sure that I'm 0.15 millimeter quality lithophane settings. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on File and Open STL. This is where my STL files are saved. This is where I downloaded it from 3DP Rocks. So, and this is the file that I'm going to choose. Your file should look very much like this. It should have your name of your picture. Maybe JPEG, or yours are probably going to be PNG. Then it should say W125, that's the width. Should be a height of 93. And then all these other things. And the last thing should be 90 NS. So your file should look similar to this, especially with the 125. So we're going to open that. And it should open on the build plate. You should be able to look around and you should get a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like by looking and kind of previewing it right here. Once again, I can tell there's kind of a space shuttle, some trees, and then some kids on some rovers. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to scoot this a little bit to the front, just so the front of it's right on the front line right there. And then I'm going to come over here. We're going to use not Prusament PLA, but we're going to use generic PLA for our filament. So we'll select that. I've got my lithophane settings, which we already did. I got PLA using the Mark III. Tells me my fill density is 100%. I don't need any supports, but I am going to check brim. That will print a little base around here to help this stick to the build platform. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Slice Now. And it'll take a couple minutes, depending upon how fast your computer is, for this to slice. You can watch the progress bar on the bottom. And your size should be the same as this. It should be 116.56, 26.26 by 95.5. Once it's done slicing, the green bar will go away. And now we can look at the preview. And we can see what this is going to look like as a 3D printed object. Whoops. So the green layers around it, that is the brim. That will help it stick to the base. And then I'm actually going to go to the preview. You can kind of go up and down and watch this. These are all the internal layers and what everything's going to look like, layer by layer. And all of those changes right there, that's going to give us our change in thickness, which is going to let more or less light through, and that's what's going to reveal our picture. So I want to come over here to layers real quick. And I want to make sure that as I go up in layers, all I see is kind of lines going along the length of this. It's okay to have little overlaps like that and little pockets like that, but everything should be along the line of the arc of your print. So as I go up, that looks fine. These are the thin sections where it's a lot of white space, a lot of light areas, and then the thicker areas are thicker. And then this is the top of our print. So that looks good. So I'm going to go back to the 3D view. Everything looks good there. So now I'm going to go ahead, now that I've double checked it, I'm going to say export G-code. I'm going to save this to the SD card. I already have that in my laptop. Since I'm a faculty, I'm going to go to faculty print. You guys will store it under student prints. So you would go to student prints. You'd go to CAD CAM. And then make sure that the name of the print, this already says Rover 2019 Shuttle. This has got a good description. Don't just say lithophane 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, all 4 students will get confused what it is. Make sure your picture names are descriptive. And then you would go ahead and save it. Since I'm faculty, I'm going to go ahead and save it right here. And it'll take same thing, it'll take a moment for it to save. But we want to wait until it's done saving, because after it's saved, it'll tell us a print time, and will also tell us how many meters of filament we are using. And those are things that you need to write down on the 3D print checklist or the sign-out sheet. There's paper sheets by the 3D printer, and before you print, you need to fill it out and have your teacher initial it, which would be me. So you can see this is going to use 11.67 meters of filament. It's going to take about 6 hours and 10 minutes to print. So that should work out great. I've already saved this, so I'm going to go ahead and walk over to the 3D printer, put this in, and get it started. So I should have a sample to show you guys next class. Thanks. Have a great day.